As I said, my name is Gonzalo Garcia. I'm the one of the partners at Agency One. We have with us today Wayne Baldwin, who's our regional field director from John Hancock and a partner of Agency One for many, many years. We were just talking about that as we were prepping for this. And Mark Berry, who is going to be our speaker for today. So we are going to talk about You Are the Boss, business owner solution system at John Hancock, recently built out. This is something that Mark's been working on for some time. Mark is responsible for working with internal and external sales organizations to facilitate development and optimization of product placement and growth at John Hancock. He's an industry veteran of more than 20 years, and anytime I've ever heard anybody say anything about Mark, is he is about as an engaging a storyteller as you're going to find in our business. So, Mark, I am thrilled to have you here with us today, and the floor is yours.
Well, I appreciate that, and as we were saying earlier, it really does mean a lot to us to be able to come on with all of you. Just real quick, Gonzalo, just as a sanity check, make sure you see the screen okay. We good
I
there?
I can. Your screen is on. It's not in present mode, but it is on.
It's not in present mode. Oh boy.
Thus,
Hold on. How about now? How's that?
nope. I think you need to start the slideshow, maybe. Oh,
Yeah,
we
I
can see them.
did.
Yeah, we can see the slides, but they're smaller.
Oh, now how do I fix? Do you want me to try to fix? I don't know how to fix that. I want to make sure we're good here. Um,
You see on the left, it said from beginning. Try on the left-hand side above your yeah, try that.
yeah, yeah, I'm showing it.
Yeah,
That's
we can
odd.
see the slides
What?
well, Mark.
Hey,
I think
Mark.
Yeah,
you're going to be fine.
Hey,
you
Mark. At the
mean?
top, it says underlined slideshow. If you clicked on that, do you see it right above where you are?
Yeah. Okay. Well, you're not going to be able to see the. So do you see a blank screen right now, Gonzalo?
It's a John Hancock slide with a blue circle on it.
Yeah, that's very frustrating. I am so sorry. I guess we're just going to have to go with this because I am not sure what's causing that situation, but we will. Let's see, show webinar maybe. Now, did I lose you again?
No, we're all here, and your screen's online. You are, Mark, I think this is more about your storytelling and your incredible capabilities of storytelling. So the slides are peripheral, but we will indulge you if you want to try to get that resolved. If not, please just jump right in.
All right, so let's just go with it then. We'll just go make it work. So thank you again for joining everyone. So I'll give you the genesis of this just really quickly. Years ago, I was a fee-based planner, and I had my own book of business. And one of my best customers had asked me to come to his office to fill out some paperwork. And as I was there, he offered a tour of his facility. He was a small business owner. And I can tell you, if you're ever meeting with a small business owner and they offer you a chance to take a tour of their facility, I would highly recommend you take them up on that. And so went on this tour, and this place was pretty amazing. What he did, his company built dashboards for General Motors vehicles. And so it was a pretty stunning place, as you could probably imagine. And when we got finished with the tour, walking in the hallway, I commented to him. I said, "Wow, this place is amazing." I said, "How many people work here?" And he said, "About half." Now, if any of you got that, you were quicker than I was because this guy never told jokes, and it kind of caught me by surprise. But when I realized he was messing with me, I looked at him and I kind of laughed and I said, of those half that actually do work here, I said, if you lost any of them, say in a car wreck on the way to or from work, what would that do to your business? And he got real serious and he looked at me and he almost got emotional. He mentioned two people by name, and I had just met him on the tour. Remembered these two people, and he said, if I lost either one of them, I'd actually be in big trouble. And what occurred to me was that I had worked with this gentleman for over 2 years as his planner. I had done some estate planning for him, done some investments, a little bit of life insurance, personal insurance, and things like that. And what had happened was I realized I had never once transitioned from personal insurance to talk to him about his business side of his life. And it really occurred to me that, I need to come up with a way for me to talk to business owners, whether they're already in my book of business or if I meet a new one, and have a conversation about all the different things that are going on in their life and how we can help them. And so that's really what I'm going to share with you today. Hopefully, it'll work close enough where you can see it, where it's a napkin presentation. And that's, if you like to draw, I would encourage you to take a piece of paper and a pencil out and try this if you want. But what I found was a lot of my clients were visual learners. And if I could show them something on just a piece of paper that helped explain what is kind of complicated, I found that it helps sometimes. So that's really the setup for this. So again, we'll just play along here. You should see a blank screen, probably with a circle on it. It looks like that's how this is going to play. And what I'll do is I'll draw this circle, and I would put the boss right in the middle of this circle. I would tell them, I said, the reason I do this is that the center of the universe is them. And when they don't laugh, because I think that's funny, it's because that's how they feel. They have a lot going on in their world, in their life. And so you could probably see on your screen there also that B.O.S., as we've said at the beginning, is an acronym that I came up with that stands for Business Owner Solution System. I know it's cheesy, but the idea is really to also help me explain to them this is not a sales pitch. I am not trying to sell them something today in this meeting. What this is a discovery meeting. And I want them to relax. I want them to uncross their arms and talk to me and have a conversation. And that's what I'm trying to do with them, is really set the stage that what we're going to talk about is their world and their life and the things that they're dealing with. And so the structure of this is to really base it on the four main groups of people that a business owner deals with on a daily basis. And so the first group of people at the very top, and I guess you can see all four of these on here, but at the very top of mind are their employees, right? And these, of course, they're thinking about their employees. Over to the right, on the right side of this, I'll put their partners. On the foundation of their planning, the reason it's on the bottom there is their family. And then over to the left, I'll put their heirs. And if you think about it, each of these groups of people creates a very unique opportunity, each and of themselves, to have a conversation about planning and helping them with some things that might concern them. And so, as you can imagine, we're going to go through in the next few weeks each of these groups of people on here. And so this would be the basic idea of the drawing, is you've got these four groups of people, and we're just going to lay out to them all the different things in ways maybe that we can help them. And so for today, what we're going to focus on is that top one, the employees. Okay. So the first employee that comes to mind is, of course, the key person. Many of you on this call may have written at some point a key person policy where we talk to a business owner about this idea, hey, if you lose a key person, say they die too soon, to or from work or wherever else, we would insure the life of that person. The business would own this policy, and so they would have a nice infusion of cash. They can't replace the person, of course, but they can at least get an infusion of cash to help them try to find someone to replace them, because this is a very, very important person with specific skills. If you recall in my story I told at the beginning, I unwittingly uncovered two key people that this gentleman had on there. And so that's really the basis of this, is this idea of key person insurance. But what I want to give you is some statistics that help with this story. And so just throwing this out there, the first one, and I still think it's shocking, of the 33 million small businesses in the United States, only 22% of them have key person insurance. Now, I'm not saying that every one of those businesses has a key person that needs to be insured, but I am saying that it's probably more than 22% of them have key person insurance. And the way I look at this, for me, the opportunity, of course, means that 78% of that 33 million do not have key person insurance. That's 25 million opportunities for us to be a hero, frankly, because if you solve any of these that I'm going to show you on this circle, you really are a hero to this business owner because this is a big deal. And Wayne, I can't remember if you and I talked about this or not, but I've heard stories of where people, the agents, have been the ones that sold them a key person policy and they actually used it. And that's the moment when they truly appreciate the work that you did as an agent and as an advisor and really helped them and became a hero. So that's the first statistic. And I think that's stunning is that, again, just think about it as opportunity, 25 million opportunities out there to have this discussion. But the second statistic I think is that's also important to look at is this mortality table. Now, all of you know about mortality, and I'm sure you know that the odds of death are 1 out of 1. Now, if that stumped you, you're probably on the wrong call, but that's kind of where we are. But for a business owner, it's not that their key person might die someday. We're all going to do that, but what they're concerned about is what are the odds of this key person living to retirement? Okay, and this isn't an exact science, but what's interesting about this chart that you'll see here, this is the odds of living to age 65, basically retirement age. And so if you have a key person, say that's a 40-year-old male, and that's at the very top of the chart, you can see for every 40-year-old male in the United States, there's a 92.29% chance that they will see the age of 65. Okay. So, but to use this where I don't know the key person age, because you could actually use this for a business owner and be specific. You tell me how old your key person is, male, female, you can give them a real statistic there. But in the United States, as you can see on the top right there, the average age of an employee is 42 years old. So let's use that. And what we're going to do is average them in the blue section there. I'm going to average the genders together and create what I call the average employee in the United States. In other words, there's a 93.7% chance that the average employee in the United States will make it to retirement to age 65. Now, those are good odds. I mean, that sounds really good. But looking at it the other way, that means there's a 6.3% chance that a key person could pass before they make it to retirement. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot either, really. That sounds pretty good. But let's do it the way Vegas talks to us, right? Vegas uses something they call odds. And if you look at this a different way, what I'm saying to a business owner is on average in the United States, there's a 1 in 16 chance that a small business could have this catastrophic event of losing a key employee. 1 in 16. And I can tell you this, if they had a 1 in 16 chance, say, of a fire, if you told them, you could tell them that, they would have fire insurance. And yet, if you recall the statistics, very few business owners have done this. And so as you can see here, to kind of summarize this, only 22% of small businesses have done this idea of key person insurance. And basically, there's a 1 in 16 chance of the average employee, not making it to 65. And so those are you put those two together, it should give us a little bit of the sense of urgency to have these conversations with business owners and talk about this. But the other thing that comes up, and it actually comes up a lot, especially if they're interested. I mean, if you're coming right here and you're even talking about this, one of the questions you might get early on is, okay, how much coverage do I need, right? What's the amount? And so most of your insurance carriers, including John Hancock, the starting place is 10 times salary, and that's an easy one to get. We can get more. Wayne can negotiate a lot more for all of you, depending on the situation. But 10 times salary is a good number. First, because I think it's kind of a universally accepted first step or first start at how much coverage to get. But the second thing that I like about it is, for me at least, when I'm on the spot talking to somebody, I don't have to think a lot, and I can do 10 times salary. So you just add a zero. So for example, if the key person is being paid, say, 100,000 a year, well, that could be $1 million of coverage that you could get for them. Now, I've had business owners ask me this. They would say something to this effect, say, well, gosh, Mark, do I really need $1 million on this key person? And I tell them this, I'm like, I don't know exactly if you need a million, but what I can tell you is this. I've worked for a lot of insurance companies. I've never once seen a death benefit check returned because it was too big, as far as I know. Wayne's been in it a little longer than me, and I asked him one time. I don't think Wayne's seen that either. The point, though, is I'm not talking about over-insuring them, but usually this is good, economically correct term insurance, right? So you can get that placed in there pretty well. And so the amount of coverage, it's important to get the right amount of coverage would be the key there. But great conversation starter just right there. This idea of key person insurance. So the thing about the key person, though, and I think this is important, is that we're not just worried about them dying too soon. We're also worried about them leaving too soon. If they're really that good, if most of you probably are on LinkedIn right now, I am too. There's a lot going on LinkedIn, a lot of people looking for good people. And so if you've got a key person who's really good at what they do, what's in place? What have we done to keep them there? Is there anything in place to really keep them around? And so there's a term out there, you've probably heard it, retain, recruit, and reward. You can say it in different orders. But the idea is, what does a small business have in place to recruit really good people, to retain them, to keep them there, and to reward key people? And so that's the idea here of this piece of it is this idea of retention. And one of the most basic ways to talk about this, and I don't like these big terms, but many of you probably have heard, non-qualified executive deferred compensation. You can call it all kinds of things. The idea is to say, look, for this key person, I want to do something special for them. And so there's lots of ways to do this. And I've listed a few of them there. Some of you are familiar with these terms. I don't want to bore you with them, but I'll go through them very quickly. Is that these are the most basic structures when we talk about, okay, how can we set something in place to get good people to come to our place, to offer to our key people to keep them around and to reward them, for staying there. And so there's three are the general pieces. There's many others, but the most basic is the first one is 162, section 162 bonus. And if you're not familiar with this, it's very simple if you say it this way, is that a business owner looks at a key person and says, I'm going to bonus you extra money if you'll stick around, right? I want to keep you here. I like the work you do. And if you'll stick around, I'll bonus you, and I'll just throw out a number, say 10,000 a year for the next, 20 years. But you don't just bonus them the money and give it to them because then they can just walk. What you do is you bonus them the money and put it inside a life insurance contract that's a cash rich type structure. And so the reason you do this is manyfold, but there's a couple of things that happen here that make this a really kind of a sticky arrangement. Is the life insurance policy will be owned by the employee. Okay, so I'm going to use Wayne as my example. So if Wayne is my key person, I'm going to sit Wayne down and I'm going to tell him what I'm doing. Wayne, I'm going to do this. I'm going to bonus you this money. You're going to be able to pick the beneficiary of this policy. So if something happens to Wayne, like an untimely death, he can pick the beneficiary. That's pretty cool for Wayne. But what Wayne gets is he's going to own this policy. So the cash value that we're building up over time, that nice tax deferred growth, and potentially pulling it out income tax free if he does it correctly, that's all Wayne's too. And so you think about it, it's like this is a good deal, but what's to keep Wayne from just walking away? Well, you can put restrictions on it. You can say, okay, Wayne, you have to stay a certain number of years before you get the policy, something like that. But also remember, Wayne's not putting the money in here. I am as the business owner. And so there's some incentive on Wayne's part he likes the fact that I'm throwing 10,000 a year into this policy on his behalf. There's a famous case, many of you might have heard of a guy named Jim Harbaugh, who was the head coach at Michigan, University of Michigan, a football coach. Jim Harbaugh was an NFL caliber coach. So Jim Harbaugh had coached in the NFL prior to Michigan. But what Michigan did is they utilized a structure similar to this with life insurance to recruit Jim Harbaugh to come to Michigan. Now, it was called split dollar. I don't want to get into all the details of it, but I think it's important to at least understand what happened here. Michigan used life insurance as an enticement in a structure similar to this. And they told Mr. Harbaugh, if you'll stay a certain number of years, or win a national championship, these policies are yours. And there was a few of them, and it was in the millions. These were big dollars here that was involved. And again, it was a split dollar structure, but it was the same general idea. Now, if you're a sports fan, you know what happened. Mr. Harbaugh goes to Michigan. He coaches there for a few years, builds up the program. They win a national championship, which is what Michigan wanted. The very next day, he was on the phone talking to NFL teams, and he ended up leaving after that. But it was a good deal for Michigan because they got what they wanted. They wanted that national championship. They had an NFL caliber type coach who brought the program back to prominence. And so for them, I'm sure financially it made sense. Great deal for Mr. Harbaugh because he walks away now with a policy that the University of Michigan basically structured and for the most part funded. It was a really good deal. The point here is that a small business owner can do this for their key person too. But Section 162 is even more basic than what Mr. Harbaugh had. Now, to kind of finish the flow here, and again, if Wayne is my key person, when I bonus that money to Wayne, I get to write that off as a cost of doing business. So it's a tax write-off for me. Wayne, on the other hand, is going to pay income tax on that $10,000, and it's going into the policy. So some people might say, well, now Wayne's paying a phantom income. He's got phantom income. He's paying income tax. I can bonus Wayne the tax too. So if I want to make Wayne whole, I can bonus him, say, the extra $3,000. I'm now bonusing Wayne 13,000. 10 of it's going into policy. 3 is going to Wayne so he can pay his taxes. That makes Wayne whole, and I'm writing off the entire $13,000, right? So I know we spent a lot of time on that, but the reason I wanted to spend time on that is that the more you talk about it, you can make it complicated. It's actually pretty simple. The Section 162 is really simple. A SERP, on the other hand, is an employer owned, where they're doing the exact same thing, but Wayne wouldn't own this one. Wayne would get the cash coming out of that policy when he retires. There's even deferred compensation structures and all of that. But again, the Section 162 is the most basic. And you don't have to get into this with them if you're having this conversation, but it is good to kind of know the basics of that and how that works. And so what you really end up with a Section 162, and I've kind of covered these, but the important points is, first of all, it is relatively simple to set up, and it's a potential tax write-off. But most important, I think, it's completely discriminatory. So I don't have to go to my other, say, 30 employees and offer this program to them. This is not an ERISA type structure. I can do it for whomever I choose. So what you're talking about then with a business owner, if you're kind of thinking of your audience, they're in total control of this situation. They can do it however they want to do. So a really great discussion to have with a business owner. And what you end up with is this idea of, with this retention play, and I'll get into the different products here in a moment. But if you think about what we've done, is the key person policy and this retention play are on the same person. So the key person policy from before was owned by the business. The retention play could be owned by the employee, but it's going to be a different policy. So what you get is 2 opportunities to be a hero with a business owner on the same person. And so, how many times does anybody want to go through underwriting? Well, no one wants to go through underwriting. But if you do it once, what's beautiful here is if you place either one of those policies, you can then go back and get the other one because now you know their underwriting class. But, speaking of this, there's also multi-life products out there as well, which we have that really cover this area. This is why multi-life policies exist for the most part. If you've got a group, if you got a small business that has a significant number of employees and they might want to look into this, you can do either simplified issue or, of course, the Holy Grail, guaranteed issue, right? Where you don't really have to go through any of that mess of the underwriting. And so, just real quick for our program to give you the idea of what guaranteed issue means. If you're not familiar with it, basically you're able to underwrite a group of people with no medical questions. Okay, no exams, none of that. And we have smoker, non-smoker rates. All we ask is the same plan design for everybody. Usually, if you're interested in something like this, and Wayne can help you here, we're really looking for groups of employees that make more than 100,000 a year. So this would be kind of your white collar type employees. You can see the issue ages there on your screen, 20 to 65. And the way it works is the maximum death benefit is based on the number of lives. And so there's our formula if you need it. Again, Wayne can get you all this. You're not really going to get into this specifically with the person that you're meeting with doing this napkin presentation, but I just wanted you to be aware of this. So, for example, if you're talking to a business owner and there's 40 lives that we could write on this, the multiplier is 40 lives times 65,000. You're talking about $2.6 million for each person on there. That's a heck of a case. And I can tell you, Wayne would love to help you write any of those cases right there if you can get something like that. But I wanted you to be aware of that because it's something that we're really good at. We don't talk about it that much, but we want you to be aware that we can help you with things like this. If you get a case anywhere near something like this, you reach out to Wayne and Wayne can help you with this. And so, again, what you end up with at the top of this is two solutions on the same person. And if you recall my discussion at the beginning of this, when I was talking about the business owner I was meeting with, I uncovered unwittingly in that hallway two key people. And so it was four opportunities for me. And by the way, when we went back into his office, I asked a few questions here, and I'm going to end this thing with what I think is important. I like good, simple, basic questions that aren't in insurance ease, that is just, good old English, the simple questions. And so the first one, as you can see there, is basically what I asked this gentleman in the hallway. Ask this question: how would your business be affected by the loss of your most important employees? Just ask that. And the hardest part here is to not answer for them. What I would encourage you to do is ask the question and shut up. And I know that's hard for some of us salespeople. As you probably could guess, it's really hard for me to just shut up. But I think it's important to be able to ask the question, have them articulate it back to you. You're kind of like an attorney, a trial attorney. No good trial attorney asks a question that they don't already know the answer to. You know the answer to these questions. You know if they lost a key person, their business could be affected in a big way. But ask the question and then listen to their answer. Let them answer it. And then the second one, and this is what happened with me, when we met back in his office, and I had already uncovered by asking question one, I asked him this question next. What do you have in place to protect against the loss of those two people that you mentioned in the hallway? And as it turned out, he didn't have anything, had never really thought about it. And it was kind of interesting how that went. The third one I think is also important, and we talked about this. Hey, if there was a way to possibly keep that person here or recruit people like that, and it's a tax write-off for you, would you be interested in hearing it? As you'll notice, I don't say the word life insurance that much. What I'm really trying to uncover is what are those issues that we can help you with? If I could show you solutions that could help you with that, are you interested? Obviously, life insurance is a perfect type of solution to help with these type of things. So hopefully that makes sense what we're talking about there. And that's the idea, is to really keep it simple, ask these basic questions, and just listen to the employer, the business owner, and see what they have to say. And so what you'll end up with when this is all said and done, and this is the first of four, but and you'll see as we uncover each of these, really, I think a very pretty drawing. If you bring colored pencils, you can have a pretty drawing like I have right here. But the idea is to embrace the business owner in a holistic way and no longer just come to them and do just the one thing, is really embrace them in a holistic way. I'll end with this, and well, two things to end with. One is, keep in mind too that business owners typically hang around other business owners. They go to Rotary clubs, they golf together, they might brag about how smart they are to their friends. Each of these is a referral moment for any of you. If you become the person, the agent, the advisor that places a key person policy, there's a referral moment. Same thing with retention, same thing with any of these. Use these opportunities as a referral moment. Ask the business owner, hey, do you know anyone else that may need to talk to me about this exact thing? Because if they were already smart enough to have solved it, they would have been bragging to their friends and talking about it too. So the last thing I'll give you is this right here, if, for what it's worth, and then I'll turn it back over, is that we do have a client approved worksheet that's available to you. If you QR code on your phone there, you can actually pull it up on your phone. We can also email it out to you, and Wayne can get these for you as well. But I was asked to do this because a lot of advisors like this idea of already maybe having the picture drawn on there, and then you can just make your notes as you go around. But the most important part is at least what I've heard, is that the cheat questions are right there. So, you've got if you get stuck, you can go down there and grab one of those questions and ask those cheat questions. So, with that, I will stop sharing and I'll turn it back over to you, Gonzalo, to see if there's any outbursts or questions on any of that.
Mark, thank you for that. For those of you that have questions for Mark or anything around this B.O.S. Concept and platform, please pop them into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Mark, I'll kick this off with a question myself. So, in the world of as you guys continue to roll this out, today you covered the key employees, right? You've got families, partners, and heirs, which I assume will be the next phase of this as you continue to build this out. Can you talk a little bit about the development of that and maybe touch on, maybe just 2 seconds on kind of each one of those and what we can anticipate going forward?
Yeah, great. And that's a great idea. So the next one is going to be about the partners. And what we're really going to talk about there is the buy-sell world, right?
Yeah.
So buy-sell agreements. And believe it or not, if you're not familiar with that word, I know you are and many of your people are here, but there's lots of different ways to do buy-sell agreements, whether it be cross-purchase, entity purchase. We talk about, of course, the Connolly case. We'll discuss that. Entity purchase, how that's become kind of passe, maybe LLCs are the way to go, and things like that. And really talk about some of the pitfalls too of some of these business owners that set these up and then never go back and look at them, never review them again. And that if you've heard of the Connolly case, that's a classic example already. And you know this, Gonzalo, of a case where they did everything right, kind of, they never followed up. They
Yeah.
put it in a drawer, never looked at it again. And I just think that's where we can help small business owners too, is to really, gig them a little bit about, hey, you've probably already done this, and if you have, let us help you review it. And so what I would kind of get into with that is that's where you get with Wayne. Wayne can bring in our team we have attorneys and experts on staff that can help you review these. And as Wayne will tell you, our attorneys charge you $0 per hour to do that. So that's a plus. On the
Yeah.
family part, just real quick, Gonzalo,
Mhm.
really, obviously, there's a policy review component to it and making sure they're right. But we also want to talk about the living benefits riders now that are very important, as well as the idea of using life insurance to help save for retirement, the LERP structures, especially for small business owners. And finally, with heirs, estate planning and charity, we'll get into there and some of the planning that can be done there. But I think the big thing for estate planning, and this will kind of tee it up, is this idea of estate equalization. Business owners can't break up this business like they can most of their other stuff. So that becomes a big deal as well.
Yeah, this is a grossly underserved market, Mark. Again, I would just say to the folks on the webinar, please go to the Q&A box, the little question mark at the bottom of your screen, and type in any questions that you may have for Mark or myself or Wayne or anybody. But one other question, as folks are thinking about what they may want to ask Mark is, and I know you spend some time in this market. Demographically in the United States, there are millions of businesses, as you highlighted on the first couple of slides. And there's this huge demographic shift going on right now relative to the amount of business owners that are surveyed year over year that are thinking of getting out in the next 3 to 10 years, call it maybe 5 to 10 years. And that's just pure demographics. The market is grossly underserved. And what I would say for everybody on this call is if you know business owners, you should be talking to them about these four categories of things that they need to be thinking about, because nobody else is. There's some people out there serving the marketplace, but there's just tons of opportunity in the business owner market. So I don't know if you have any comment on that and maybe some studies or some things that you're seeing from the opportunities in this space.
Yeah, I do actually, and it's a great point you bring up. I think the first thing I'll say, Gonzalo, what at least what I've noted as we've been out there, and I know Wayne, you've seen this too. I think advisors, agents, people in the business that we're in make this so complicated,
Yeah.
and they think I have to be an expert in everything to do this. And nothing can be farther from the truth. You just have to be the person to ask the questions, right? And then you can bring in whoever you need. But I think that's the big thing is don't be afraid to just ask a few simple questions. And again, this isn't a sales pitch today. We're just uncovering things. We're going to set up another meeting later, to go over whatever issue
Yeah.
they found. So I think that's really the big thing. And again, I'll just give you some shameless plug for John Hancock is we have a full staff of advanced planning experts and attorneys that are available. So you get some of these legal documents. The most obvious one I'd say is a buy-sell agreement, right?
Yeah.
Offer to look at it for them, review it for them, get it to us, get it to Wayne, and you'll be amazed some of the things that you can see on there. And some of the case studies even that we could share with you where we've had a case where they come to us maybe for the buy-sell planning and it
Yeah.
uncovers all the others as well because as the underwriters start looking into the file, Gonzalo, they'll find, hey, for example, you mentioned the three brothers that are going to get the business. What about the two sisters when the
Yeah.
parents pass? How does that work? How is that estate planning? Talk me through it. You really can open up, I think, an opportunity with one business owner, an opportunity to have many, many types of interactions with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, to put in a plug for your team, I mean, we had a call with Tracy Ullum from your advanced markets team on Connolly. It is recorded for those of you that want to go back and listen to that. But she did an excellent job on that, and we're thrilled to have her. I do have a couple questions that have come in, Mark. Mr. Gusky asks, what kind of restrictions have you seen regarding the 162 plan to keep key employees? So can you talk about restrictions and how that works on a bonus plan?
Yeah, it's interesting. I wouldn't, with 162, and maybe Wayne, see if you have any. I'm not aware really of any specific restrictions when it comes to 162 plans. It's just really a matter of setting it up the way they want to. I would say the only restriction or complication to it is if you want to put a restriction on it where they have to stay a certain amount of years, that becomes what's called a REBA, restricted endorsement plan. That would be the only thing where maybe there's a restriction on there is you've got to really set that up and agree to it, the employee and the employer. But other than that, and Wayne, again, I don't know if you can speak on this, if you've seen anything, or
The
maybe
Reba's
Gonzalo, if you
probably the
have
one.
when it comes to
Yeah,
these.
the Reba's probably the one that's most popular. If the employer wants to put some kind of restriction on it, some get into vesting. Maybe vesting over a period of 5 years or 10 years, a cliff vesting at the end of 10, whatever. What I've seen, it'd be interesting, Gonzalo's comment here, because I know he deals with this a lot, is the vesting sort of gets somewhat complicated. And it just, I don't know, it seems to me personally, it gets in the weeds
Hmm.
and sometimes gets in the way of the the ultimate goal, which is to put this insurance on the employee and benefit and recruit and retain them. So I've seen Rebus though, because sometimes the employer wants some kind of restriction. You can't access the cash until 10 years from now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Would you agree with
And,
that, Gonzalo, about the
and
vesting?
and I would echo that, Wayne, and we do have another question here from Doug Bradley. The issue of vesting versus access to the cash value is really important, and I don't think anybody here should be talking about vesting in a 162 plan, it's really restricted access to the cash value of the policy. If I've been given a bonus and I've paid tax on it, to tell me I'm not vested in what I already paid taxes on is a little hard to swallow. So it's really kind of how the employer restricts access to that cash value of the policy over a 3, 5, or 10-year period is really what we should be talking about. But let's get on to a couple other questions here, Mark or Wayne. Should we help beneficiaries of a 162 plan set up an ILET, an irrevocable life insurance trust, to help exclude the death benefit from the employee's estate?
See, I love the way Doug's thinking here. Now, see where Doug's going with this, Gonzalo, and this is
Yep.
brilliant. Doug's already embracing the circle, right? Because where Doug's going is it's a business case, right? But now it's personal even for the employee. And see, that's another point, and I'll answer his question. That's another point too, is if you have a small business owner and they got 40 employees, and they're doing this for a few of those employees may be someone you want to talk to as well to help them. And this is a great example. I think the idea here of the islet, if there is an estate tax issue, like if the employee does have that much net worth. And I don't know where exactly the big beautiful bill stands as of now, Gonzalo, but we're looking at if it gets passed, I think the exemption's 14, 15
15,
million a
it'll
person.
be 15 million. Yeah,
Right.
that's the
So,
proposal.
it's got to be some significant wealth. So I would say as a general rule, 162 plans probably aren't going to need anything like that. And usually, too, the structure is more of a cash rich type contract where the death benefit isn't as big. We're minimizing it anyway. It could be even a minimum non-mec structure because
Yeah.
the idea is to build up the cash. So, but yes, if there's an issue with estate tax, absolutely let's meet with that employee, and have that discussion as well. I love that thought process though, Doug. That's a great question.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that, and that's a great comment, Mark, is that if there is access to cash required or needed or desired at some point in the future, um, set up a slot. Let the employee set up an irrevocable trust with spousal access provisions so that
Mhm.
they can get to those cash values if they want them at some time in the
Yep.
future, while keeping those death proceeds out of the taxable estate. Um, one last question here that I've got. Again, if you have any questions, please type them in to the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. Is a corporation the only entity type that can benefit from the 162 plan? That question was asked by Edgar Castillo.
Yeah, and Edgar, I'm glad you asked this question too. It's interesting, and again, the thought process I can see right now, Gonzalo. We got some people that are going to be able to use this. This isn't even for a corporation. This could be a small business owner that's just a partnership, has a few employees. They can do this for just the one employee. So, but I guess the idea would be the entity, the business itself. That's really, as far as that goes, the Section 162 would be employer to employee typically is the
Mhm.
structure, if that's what you're getting at, where you've got an employer that really values this employee and is willing to bonus them this extra amount of money. So that's the idea, is it comes out as a bonus. And again, the tax situation is it's basically paying them a bonus, which means the entity, the business owner, the partnership, corporation, whatever, gets to write that off as a cost of doing business. The employee will pay income tax on that, which makes it beautiful because the death benefit then is income tax free when they pull money out of it. If done correctly through loans or withdrawals up to basis, that's income tax free. So hopefully that answered the question. I don't know, Gonzalo, if you had anything to add to that. Maybe I
Yeah, I,
missed.
I would just add, Mark, that I get a lot of phone calls saying I want to set up a bonus plan or a split dollar plan or a deferred compensation plan for the owners of the business as opposed to the employees of the business. And that's really when you get into the differentiation between a C corp or a pass-through entity. And I've written some articles about this. You don't do a bonus plan for a business owner because for them compensation is compensation. If you're going to take compensation as salary, you're going to pay withholding taxes on it. So if it's going to be K1 income, if you're a pass-through entity, you may as well take it that way to alleviate some of the payroll withholding taxes. but bonus plans are really for any business that has payroll, right? It's just compensation, as opposed to for the owner, where you're going to have pass-through income for profits and so on in an entity. So
Hmm.
any business can set up a 162 bonus plan to really get to the heart of the question from Edgar, is if you're using payroll, ADP or Paychex or whoever it is, to pay people and do withholding, you can pay them a bonus and you can do a bonus plan.
Yep.
Not so much for the business owners themselves, but certainly if you're a pass-through entity. I've got one other question, and Philip, if you might clarify this, I'm going to interpret what you wrote if you're listening here. Would the SERP and deferred comp discriminatory plans question mark? I would assume that means be discriminatory plans, or can they be discriminatory plans? So can you elaborate on that, Mark?
Yeah, and so there's a fancier term for it. Discriminatory is my word. Some people might call it, Gonzalo, a carve out. Maybe
Yep.
that's the better way to do that, where you're not saying you're discriminating against everybody else. What we're saying is we're
Mhm.
going to carve out a few people and do this just for them. And yes, it would be the same idea for deferred comp and SERP, and anyway, you're carving out a specific group of people that you want to do this for, and you don't have to do it for everybody. I hope, I don't know, Gonzalo, if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, no, no, no. I mean, I think you express it very well. Is you want to you want to pick the people that when we say discriminatory, I think what you're saying is I get to do this for the people I want to do it for. I don't have to do it for everybody like I would under a qualified plan, say a 401k or something like that. So, you really get the opportunity to benefit to reward the key people that you want to reward and not everybody. And so I like the word discriminatory, but it does have negative connotations. It's really
Yeah,
selective, maybe is the best word, is selective.
I say it for the impact punch, right,
Yeah,
Gonzalo? It's
yeah,
just for that punch in the face.
absolutely.
The one thing I'd
Um,
like to add is
all right, Wayne.
one thing to add is on these plans, Mark and Gonzalo, do you see them adding we would have the availability of the long-term care rider or a chronic illness rider, one being reimbursement and the other one being indemnity? Um, I would think that would be a big deal.
Yep. Yeah, and I agree with that. I think especially the employee owned, like a Section 162 where the employee owns it,
Exactly.
right? Definitely want
That's
to
what
put
I was talking
on
about. Yeah.
some type of living benefit rider. And we have one, Wayne, I'm sure you've told them many times, that has no charge up front, right? They only are charged for it if they use it, and there's no
Right.
underwriting for it either. And so it would be a great one just to attach to it just in case. And you're able to say as an employer, hey, not only have I given you this nice policy with a nice death benefit if you need it and the cash inside, but if you were to have a chronic illness situation where you need some help with long-term care, you've also got the ability to accelerate that death benefit while you're still alive. Great
That's a
Yeah.
point.
great idea. But I would take a look at the long-term care rider or chronic illness rider where there is a charge and the benefit is a little more robust. There's not as much drag on the cash value as one would think because the
Mhm.
charge for the long-term care rider is identical to the charge for the cost of insurance, which is against the net amount of risk. And as you're jamming money in here, the net amount of risk keeps going down. Therefore, the charge for the benefit, either the rider or the life insurance is there. And then the other thing on that guaranteed issue that you went through, 10 lives or more, even though it's guaranteed issue, if it's employee owned, a bonus plan, they can have up to 50% of the death benefit as a true chronic illness rider, where there is a small charge, but it's a pretty, I don't know if there may be some other company out there, but I don't know of another one that's offering that on a guaranteed issue basis.
That's
And
huge.
then
Yeah.
I can't leave the call without putting a plug in there for Vitality. But if you're talking to the employer about this and you have Vitality on it, it's a workplace wellness program
Yeah.
Mhm.
built into the product.
Yeah.
And I personally speaking, I think that would be extremely attractive to the owner of a business, suggesting that that be added to the policy. So.
Well, I think living benefits are more and more important every day. And it's nice to walk into a business and everybody's wearing an Apple Watch that was provided by John Hancock for their vitality benefits, right? So, We've got one more question here, and thank you, Wayne, for that. How will it work for the business owner? Again, for the business owner himself. So I believe the spirit of the question is kind of what I was alluding to before, and this is also from Edgar. Edgar, I would encourage you to call your agency one or BSMG or BUA. RVP or wholesaler, and we can certainly get into any specifics about a business case. And I'm just going to take a swing at this, Mark. If you have anything else to add, please do. The business owner themselves is the one that's making all the money and then paying all the payroll, right? So if it's bonus, it's compensation to the employees, and that's a deductible expense. When it's deferred compensation or split dollar arrangements, those are non-deductible expenses to the business owner. If it's a C corp, it's non-deductible. If it's a pass-through entity, it's non-deductible. So for the business owner, if I have revenues and I have expenses, then I have net income, right? At the end of the day, all of that net income, if I'm a pass-through entity, comes to me as a K1 or as a profit distribution from my business, whether I distribute it or not. So for a business owner to say, well, I'm going to do a bonus plan for myself. Well, now I just recategorize profit to salary, and now I'm now paying payroll taxes on that salary. So not particularly useful. And then any undistributed profits are just going to be taxed to me anyways on my K1. So whether I pay it a salary or K1 income, it doesn't much matter. Edgar, if you have a case with a business owner and you're looking to do something, give us a call. Happy to talk to you about how that might work. And I'd be happy to talk with you and with your wholesaler to help you work on that case. So happy to do that. That gets really into the weeds on this whole conversation about entities, C corps versus pass-through entities, and how to deal with compensation issues. So I don't think we have any more questions. We're at 3:53. If you have any more questions, please pop them in and we'll take them now. Otherwise, we will thank Mark and Wayne for hosting this webinar for us. We're very, very grateful for our relationship with John Hancock and really appreciate you guys spending some time with us. Certainly thank everybody who was on the call and hanging in there with us. Lisa, do we have any other announcements for, I think we've got some other webinars coming up. Lisa, you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, great. Yes. Thank you, Gonzalo, for pointing that out. Hang on one quick second. We have another webinar coming up on the 29th of this month. Bear with me for one moment, if you don't mind.
I believe it's the 22nd, Lisa, at least what I had. I'll let you double check.
Oh, all right. Well, there may be something else. Hang on. There may be another John Hancock coming up, but there'll be additional invites going out, but the one that I have scheduled right now is Prudential, and it's titled The Bear Market Triggers and the RSVP, and that's July 29th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, be watching for that invitation. And if I've overlooked a John Hancock, I will make sure that that gets included in the next invitation that goes out. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Lisa. Well, we have a whole schedule of webinars coming up over the next several months. So just pay attention to our invites.
Correct.
And you can check our website. And so thank you for that, Lisa. Mark and Wayne, thank you guys again for your time today. Really appreciate it. And we're very grateful for everybody who dialed in. We'll see you on our next webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Take care, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.